Well, wasn't that something? What a campaign it's been. Welcome, everyone, to our campaign retrospective. It's a bittersweet moment in DGP history, but as sad as we are to leave our characters and the world of Chrysanth behind, we're just as excited, if not more so, for the brand new Pathfinder 2nd Edition campaign we've been planning for you. So keep your ears peeled for more news on that, which we'll get into a little later. What we're here to do now is reminisce about all the many wonderful, funny, heart-wrenching, gut-spilling moments we've all enjoyed in the Altoric campaign. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Yeah, I'm excited for this.
Yeah, me too.
We really wanted to just kind of do like a brief, maybe not even a deep dive, sort of like a surface level dive, like a belly flop sort of deal.
Like a snorkel dive?
Like a sort of like a snorkeling expedition on the campaign. Because it was so long. It's been, 5-6 years? 185 episodes, something like that. And many, many adventures. So we just wanted to think back and spend some time living out the good old days again.
Yeah, and this is some of the first that we're going to hear what was Thayne thinking, or
the
what
real
did you
behind
think
the scenes
we were going to do. Yeah, a little.
Thayne pulling back the curtain.
Right, and that's genuine for us. Like, we haven't heard some of his machinations.
Yeah, it's true.
Right.
For this campaign.
Some of his Deus Ex machinations.
Well, I don't know that I ever went that nice on you.
We wanted to first talk about our favorite moments from a character perspective. And I had two that immediately jumped to mind, but I'm curious to know what your guys's were.
Mm-hmm.
Tokus, Sean, why don't you go first?
Yeah, so one moment obviously was the iconic Tokus fails his alchemy check. And the explosion, the crystal enters my chest. That was just, I remember going back and listening to that at one point, like trying to find that episode and just listening to how Jay edited that. And I just felt like that was just like a really masterful, like the music fit. It was just like, I was really enjoying, being like a fly on the wall, like a listener, just like you guys who are listening now, just like the epicness of like the urgency of we need to get Tokus some medical attention. And then of course that leading to explaining the character development, the Eldritch Knight and the dip into Magic Initiate Warlock. Thought that was really cool.
The added urgency of that situation weren't we getting ready to get on the ship for the sea voyage as well?
Yes, we were going to be late.
So that was super early on. That was within maybe the first 20 episodes or so?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
That was what I had thought of as my favorite moment for Tokus as well. But I love how we had been discussing outside of the game how we would get Tokus into that sort of the Warlock Hex build thing, but we hadn't really hadn't settled on anything yet. And so when he rolled that natural 1 on the alchemy, he's like, this is the opportunity.
Yeah.
So I just immediately jumped on that, and it worked so well.
Yeah, that was perfect. And just to you listeners, like that was genuine, right? Like I really rolled a 1, and Thayne really just rolled with it.
It was a Morgul blade to the chest. It never really healed.
You were aware at that point that I wanted to do that feat for Tokus.
Yeah. So I knew where you wanted to go, but I didn't know how to get there yet.
Like, why would I start like using evil magic? Yeah. Essentially.
Yeah.
It was just amazing how well it worked out.
Yeah, it's true.
So that was one. Do I have to give another?
No. You don't have to. You don't have to give any if you don't want to.
Yeah. Another. I'm torn betwixt the two. One would definitely be where we thought we might have been losing Tokus, and I think that'll open up some good dialogue. Where we thought we lost Tokus in the sewers.
Yep.
There was that. I think it was an honest new player moment, and looking back on that, I don't dislike the way that we handled it, and I learned from it. Moving on from that moment, like, definitely took note of and thought about inspiration. I probably used inspiration annoyingly right, Thayne? Like I was always asking the others, like, hey, do we still have inspiration? Or like, oh, should I use my session insp?
Yeah.
Throughout the rest of the campaign because of that near death. But I think I'm curious what you guys' thoughts are on that.
I mean, I think other than Stripey's actual death, that was probably the closest any of us came the whole campaign to death, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Well, there was the Kruthix battle. That was the other thing I was going to cite as maybe one of my favorite moments. But that was my favorite moment for our party. That was not like a Tokus moment. That was we're doing the thing. Like Shaba had laid down the spike growth and Aslo was keeping us up and I was like, doing the thing. And
that was definitely my favorite combat.
Yeah, I think mine too, probably.
Yes.
Maybe not even just of this campaign, but like one of my favorite D&D combats of all times.
Yeah. And then like when Thayne brought out the queen, or the Kruthix queen. I remember you saying this, Jay. I listened to this the other day. You're like, come on! Come on!
It's like you can picture the Avengers scene where they're like already battered and bloody, and then like the next monster rises up, and you're just like, oh, come on, this, really?
Yeah, exactly. And it was just, I think that was an expertly done. Yeah, I agree with your sentiment, Jay. One of my favorite combats because, like, it didn't feel like we had any more to give. You were out of shots, and we were like, if the spike growth can hold, and I think it went down.
And the pattern held. It was the spike growth and the pattern both like against all odds. We kept like succeeding on our concentration checks, and like we somehow managed to hold up both of those just long enough. It was just like the way the roller coaster ride, along with like the feeling of hopelessness, like we were totally like dead in the water, like we were gonna TPK and lose.
Yeah.
And then just combined with
and like the party synergy of like the spike growth with, I can't remember if we were doing lightning lure and thunder wave to like push them around.
Your thunder wave was insane there with Shaba's spike growth.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also one of the big things about that one that I remember was like a lot of people in the Discord afterwards were just giving me so much grief for like turtling instead of just continuing to run. And I was just like, you don't know Thayne as a DM. Like, you just don't understand. Like, there was no way out of that. Like, we were going to fight the Kruthix. Like, it was gonna happen. So we might as well have turtled up in that particular instance.
Well, you've let us run away before. Remember the Quaggoth?
Yeah, I've let you run away before. My initial plan for that battle was actually that you would see them coming out after you. You might engage like 2 or 3, and then you'd hear more coming and see that there's not really an end in sight, and then you would run, is what I figured would happen.
Yeah. You meant to overwhelm us.
But then on our way back, we would have run into them again if we hadn't defeated them the first time, is the thing. And on our way back, I think we were in a rush because of the guys that we had trapped in the acid cage room.
Mm-hmm. I mean, from my recall of listening to it, I do think that it took a while for us all to be like, okay, we're going to stay. Because I do think there was a bit of discussion of, okay, do we stay or do we go?
Yeah, there definitely was.
But I think once we laid down, especially once the spike growth was laid down, I think we were like, well, we should try to milk that for all it's worth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when did you understand the pivot thing that we weren't going to leave?
Well, I think you made your intentions pretty clear around that point. Like, you were going to stay up as long as the spikes held, I think was your plan. So we went with it. And I tried to give you as much advantage as I could by having the enemies run through the spikes, but it also fit with what kind of creatures they are. Like, they're just purely aggressive monsters. They don't care if they're getting hurt. They're going to take you out anyway.
Yeah, and they got that like hive mind too, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Where they're not like, they don't really care like a normal creature would about their own well-being, right? It's like for the hive.
Yeah.
Like, I would never have run, orcs or something that way, but for these things, I think it worked out well.
Yeah.
Yeah, their behavior.
That was a great fight.
I think it really was. Yeah, I mean, as much, and I guess we'll get into this more with talk of the next campaign, as much as like 5th edition enable silly things like popcorn healing, I do think that we had some really compelling, like, our backs against the wall fights.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And those weren't the only ones we just touched on.
I remember feeling like we had our backs against the wall, even though we were in an open field when Gul'dan and Zestim tracked us down. Because I was like, how are we ever going to, like, escape Aslo's rap? Like, how are we going to run? Like, there's nowhere we can run that they won't find us. And the similar feeling with the cult, obviously, but like knowing that the cult has so much else going on. Gul'dan and Zestim were singularly focused on tracking Aslo down and bringing him to justice. So there was no distracting them. Like that was going to happen.
And that was an Aslo decision to not just coup de grace them once they were asleep. But it was also a Bryan decision. I like legitimately was starting to feel bad about the thought of like killing these guys in their sleep. I was like, I don't think I can do this. I don't want Aslo to do it. So I was like, let's just run away.
Yeah, I remember like fighting really hard to do that for Aslo's sake, but it probably wasn't the right thing to do, nor was it in line with my character either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know that any of us would just be, even though obviously they were pursuing us once they were unconscious.
Yeah,
I don't know that anyone would have just killed them outright,
because they were just doing their jobs at the end of the day.
Yeah.
They were just,
aren't we all?
Well, Jay, are you saying that Shaba's just so protective of his kin?
Yeah,
that he would be the one to kill them?
I think from that perspective, from like his sort of like protector, that side of him is what would have led him to want to do that, but just as like his general ethics and morality would have prevented him. So it was sort of a internal struggle, but he was definitely leaning toward the the former.
Yeah, and I think that would have been maybe a character moment, right? If one or all of us had just been like, all right, they're helpless, let's kill them. You know, that would have been convenient, right? We wouldn't be worried about them re-entering. Now, I will say they didn't seem to come back into the story after that sleep bomb.
We did have
they
one.
reappeared a couple
once
of
or
times.
twice.
Oh, they did pursue us after we ran away.
Yeah, and then Thayne mentioned them in the epilogue as well. He mentioned that they found us again, and then Aslo showed them his papers of absolution, and then they went back to Marengar to try to hunt down Felmandar.
Right,
that's right. Yeah.
So
that had implications for us, letting them go.
Yep.
I believe they were. I actually don't remember, but remember how your house got like ransacked at one point? I think it was supposed to be those two that did it.
Okay.
I believe that was my original plan.
Yeah.
Oh, we thought it was the cult, though.
We thought it was the cult.
I totally
did think it was the cult.
That note just said, "We will find you."
So it was them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
well, we had both of those entities pursuing us. Of note, I do think that you did a good job with that, right? Like, we never figured out who ransacked the house.
Yep, until this very moment.
Right. Well, yeah, until just now, right? We were learning that for the first time, listeners. But also, just like, I remember just like every time we sat down to play, it's like, all right, what has the cult been up to? Like, are we safe to take this rest?
Yeah.
You know, like, I think ever since the Red Ooze night, just understanding that that's part of your play style, Thayne, I think that I was always concerned that, I think, especially during like the Caldera, I was like, I don't think this is going to be a long rest, guys. I remember just really harping on that, you know, I don't think we're going to be able to rest fully because somebody's going to find us. And I just feel like you did a good job in this campaign, Thayne, always creating that, like, we're never safe. We are never safe.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I remember distinctly every time we would level up, I would think to myself, thousands of cultists just also leveled up.
Somewhere in the universe.
Yeah.
Well, I don't quite run my games that way. I mean, in the final battle, I was using, for the vast majority of those, they were using the cultist or cult fanatic stat blocks, which are like basic CR1 or something.
Mm-hmm. So, but that lent itself to the whole like soul popping thing where like they were just into the ritual. Which was sweet.
Mm-hmm. So I don't always level up the world with the players, but you know, I do choose more appropriate challenges as you level up. So.
Probably my favorite character moment was in Ildrazzar when we used the fountain and Aslo peered into the fountain and scryed and saw Felmandar and Nalia, the fact that he had taken over the show and that his parents were there and all this stuff. Because, I remember, like, as Thayne was reading that about it, like, I legitimately had tears in my eyes because I was, like, so furious at Felmandar and, like, so moved by it. So that was just a really cool thing. I really felt like I was taking on Aslo in that moment. And, like, my desire to get back at Felmandar was palpable. So,
that was one of mine that I was thinking of. Just like we only knew Felmandar from a distance up until that moment, and then it all became visceral and real.
I think that moment is what made him the better villain. The
villain that he is
in
today.
the campaign, in a sense, really.
Yeah.
Like the less powerful villain, sure, but you hated him, so we hated him more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I struggled with that, setting it up, because I knew when you were going to go there, I thought you were going to ask for Nalia. And so when you said Felmandar, I'm like, Well, fortunately, my vision kind of works for both.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But I knew that I had to somehow live up to the reputation that Felmandar had gained. Like, you'd all talked about him and screamed out in anger at his names. Like, how am I possibly going to create a villain that's that bad that you want to hate so much? And I'm just glad that it worked out.
Yeah, it definitely did.
It was very clever just to have him take Aslo's whole life.
Yeah. What I remember, one of the funniest parts about that episode was how Aslo did all of, like, he planned it all out in secret without, like, talking to us about it. And we were like, wait, you didn't bring any holy water for us? Knowing that Tokus wants to find Murni and knowing that Shaba has no idea where his tribe is or how his family are doing. And you're just like, no, it's all good. I'm just gonna give this a try on my own.
That was another, like, Aslo moment, but it was also a Bryan moment where I, like, legitimately didn't even think about your character.
Right. And then we had to come back to look in the bowl again.
But I feel like that's true to Aslo.
Yeah, and continuing on with Felmandar, that would probably be my personal favorite character moment, was playing Felmandar.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Because when you actually got to that meeting with him and you fought him, and I just loved playing that witty, quippy response kind of villain where you just everything you say he would twist and turn against you.
Right. And he had the crowd on his side too, so it was like, it was so frustrating from our standpoint. We're like, no, they all love him.
He's stupid though, you don't understand.
And he just felt untouchable in that like, as a player in that combat, it was more than just the crowd on his side. It was that he felt untouchable, and then he just poofed.
Yep.
Very, like,
even after we got him down.
Yeah, it was just a very frustrating combat.
His lizard man healed him, and then he just disappeared.
Yeah.
To the end, we still hate him to this day.
It's going to be my new character in our next campaign is going to be hard pressed not to put his fist to the sky and shout Felmandar. It's just going to be so hard.
I thought you were going to say your new character's name is Felmandar.
Yeah. It's going to be hard to not name every character that I play from now on Felmandar. Yeah, so that was one of my favorite character moments. The other was Tokus getting his armor in Glass Rock, because it was so funny when we were like lower level, like first and second level. He was like, "This is the armor my dad gave me, and I'll never I'll never take it off." And then when we got to a higher level, he's like, "Well, I don't want to like not have this armor, but I also want better armor. So like, can I like make it this armor, but also better?" But it was still cool because like the guy, the Spaith was like, he had that sort of like dwarvish gnomish crossover, and he was able to stay true to the sort of design motifs of your armor. And
well, surely Thayne made all that happen because of Tokus's earlier statements of I'll never take off this armor, but I want, like, as a player, I wanted the better armor since Tokus is a class that could wear it,
that needs it,
and we could afford it,
right? Barely. We could technically.
We could barely afford it. Barely afford it.
Well, obviously that I probably wouldn't have thought to have a dwarf with gnomish connections if that wasn't even thing, but it did make you work for it. You have to go all the way back there to get it.
Yeah. I think Shaba's biggest character moment was probably the escape from lycanthropy, because it forced him to reconsider his allegiances, his faith.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was Embastille bestowing him the gift of that escape rather than Kavaki when he'd asked Kavaki and heard silence. So I think it was just such a huge struggle for him to accept it instead of like being stubborn about it and just staying a were-rat forever because he didn't want to rescind his allegiances.
I think that was something that was fun about the way that you role-played Shaba, was that you were essentially a paladin for Kavaki. Right? I think that was a comment somebody made at some point on Discord or comments elsewhere. But it was so true. Like, you really leaned into Shaba's beliefs.
Yeah.
And it was funny that we did the deity shopping day.
We went around to all the different gods and tried and said, what can you do for us? Yeah, that was great.
That was fun.
But only Embastille.
I think you're right, which is hilarious because I can't stand paladins. Every paladin that I've ever seen in any game has just been insufferable. But
yet that's kind of what you did. I mean, for our listeners to get an insight from you, Jay, Shaba's not your stereotypical J character.
Yeah, no, not at all. Not at all. And most of my characters from now on will be more like I am. But I wanted to try my hand at something different. But yeah, and that's probably why I usually do find paladins insufferable, because I tend to be chaotic neutral. And so lawful good just doesn't mesh well with my general comportment.
Yeah, I feel like you often used it just like tongue in cheek or almost sarcastically, right? But yeah, playing Shaba as if he were a paladin of sorts.
Yeah, I did kind of lampoon it a little bit, maybe, but mostly for comedic effect. But knowing that it was a strongly held belief of Shaba's that just gave him a little bit of depth.
Yeah, part paladin, part barbarian.
Yeah, right.
I enjoyed using that and having Almar follow after you and say, I'd be the shoulder of the Ram Lord, be ever at your back.
Oh, yeah, right.
First time that an NPC actually said it to you.
Right. Yeah, because everyone
acknowledge you in any way.
Everyone would just look at me and be like, what? Who are you talking about?
Remind me, is Kavaki one that we came up with for this world?
No, he's just a standard, I think, Forgotten Realms deity of the Goliaths.
Okay, so, gotcha.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Of course, he probably has no actual shared attributes between that version and the version on the show with the whole goat stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all I knew was it was much like most of the Goliath traditions and stuff. I knew the name of Kavaki and then I just made everything else up. Goatsmas and Goats Giving and Goat Ball and everything else. So just your standard fair goat related humor,
Thayne, did you have any other favorite character moments?
That covered all the ones that I had thought of before. I was going to say Shaba's was also dealing with the temples, so
yeah.
I did like the other part of the were-rat business there where you turned into the were-rat and fought everyone. But that's not so much a character-defining moment because you weren't really yourself. But it did define Captain Clapton.
Yeah, that's true. Fleshed him out a little bit.
That's true.
So what about favorite lines, favorite quotes from the show, or favorite just humorous moments?
I liked when you were trying to get into the cultist meeting and no one could remember the password.
That was great.
Yeah, that was great. We really could not. Or Jay remembered the password, but Bryan and I did.
Yeah, could not for the life of me.
Was it because we stopped recording, or we really had forgotten?
No, you literally. It was like
we took a 5-minute break.
Yeah, we took a break during the recording. Then when we came back, you both forgot it. The darkest dawn comes before the brightest day.
No,
I'm making fun of you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The brilliant dawn follows the darkest night.
The darkest night. Yeah. We couldn't do it.
No.
I think you still, for the story's sake, you still had to let us in. Or what? I forget what happened.
I think you gave it a few tries and eventually, either you went back and relearned it and came back, again or something.
Yeah, something like that.
That's so suspicious.
I remember. You eventually said it right.
Oh, dude, another classic battle, total classic that we have not mentioned is the Battle of Miller's Field. Man, that was a good one. That was a good one.
Yeah, the flaming
great.
barrels.
Yeah,
right?
we're rolling barrels of oil down the hill and like smashing, like exploding them on zombies. Oh yeah,
That was maybe the most satisfying use of fire vial in the whole campaign.
Oh, definitely.
Like Tokus had recently learned it too, I think.
Yeah.
And is that the first time we saw the nightmare creature flying in the sky too?
I think
it was like
so.
the end of the battle, and we saw this like crazy shape against the like lightning in the sky or whatever.
Yeah,
it was so creepy.
Right.
Oh, that was another creepy moment too. Was when we were on the ship and the Sahuagin first showed up. It was like Shaba was by himself or something, and he turns around and the Sahuagin's just standing there.
Yeah, and like the
I legitimately like jumped. I was like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, that was
scary.
Frightening. Yeah,
I think probably if I had to pick one favorite lines from the whole show, it would have to be ethically charged death crystals. It's just so good.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to pick. There's so many good ones. Unfortunately, a lot of them have been documented in our channel of our Discord server.
Mm-hmm.
Which, if you're not on our Discord server by this point, at the very end of the campaign, you need to be on it because we're about to start a new campaign and you gotta get into the community.
Yep, there's going to be a lot to discuss with the start of the new one and the finish of the old one.
Yep, just go to our website, thedamageguild.com, and click on social, and you'll see the Discord link. So get on and say hi.
Get on it. You talking about Spaith earlier also makes me think of the moment when, for whatever reason, Tokus said, "I don't really care about the armor." And Jay was like, "What? What do you mean you don't care about the armor? That's all you've been talking about this entire time."
Yeah. That was one of the best. I turned that into a social media clip. It was so good. I have a moment that's not actually, like, it's in the podcast, so I think it counts. But when my wife, or now wife, she wasn't at that moment, when she paid for a royal decree for us, because we were getting married or soon to be married, and it was the way that she ended it, right? # take that Sahuagin life. So it was really it was really funny that, you know, it was very endearing for her to kind of enter my world, right, of nerddom, but for her to like secretly, I thought when she was asking me about how to submit a royal decree, it was because her brother, Freddie, shout out to you, Freddie, who's an avid listener of the show. I thought that he's the one that asked me. Sorry, she didn't ask me. My wife's too smart. He asked me, how do you submit a royal decree, so that he can relay that information back to his sister, aka now my wife.
Nice. Yeah, that was a really nice gesture.
Sweet moment on
to
the
show
podcast.
That she was not only a fan of your work, but also a fan of you. I mean, a fan. I meant to say that the other way around.
The other way around.
She's not only a fan of you, but also a fan of the show.
Fan of your work.
One of the funniest like quests. Yeah, I wanted to ask about people's favorite quests, like to zoom out from the combat, because there's so many good like little arcs, but one of my favorites was the boy in the goblin's cave, because we were just lambasting the kids' parents about letting their kids just run, even though obviously, like, back in the day or whatever, even back in the pseudo medieval day, like, that would have been commonplace. It was just so funny to, like, as like, you know, Bryan and I are both fathers to young kids, like, you cannot imagine, like, just letting your child just run around outside without supervision. Now it's like,
it's sort of unthinkable.
There was a quote from that moment in the show that I just saw in the Discord. I'm cheating a little bit here, looking at some of the favorite quotes. And the quote was, "Are you borrowing a random child for breakfast?" I'm pretty sure that was when we had him. Right, when we were rescuing him from the goblins.
Was it? That might have been part of like a tangent conversation when we were. Remember when we found the guy with the broken wagon and he was like pretending to be a merchant, but he was actually a thief? I feel like that was the morning we were.
That might have been the child thing.
I can't remember, honestly.
I don't remember where it came from. But the funny thing about that goblin side quest, kidnapping, you went in there and asking if there was one of your guild houses. I'm like, I'm sure there's a Sapphire Savior guild house here.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, we look at the quest board.
Yeah, we were literally on another side quest, and then we were like, dude, any side quest that we can do overnight instead of sleeping when we had to guard the caravan the next day? Like, I don't know what we were thinking. Maybe we were just all like tired or something, but we're like, yeah, let's just get a quick quest in under the belt, like, just for the night instead of going to bed.
So you made me come up with a whole quest on the spot.
Yeah.
I didn't realize you came up with that on the spot. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was literally, we just picked it off the job board at the Saber.
Didn't we like really rag on his parents for like being bad parents?
Yeah, that's what I was saying before.
Right.
That's why it was so funny, because we're just, yeah.
How could you leave him?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, like or we were like trying to like consider if we should tell him to like leave his parents and come with us or something. Come with the caravan.
Yeah, we were saying you'd have a better life elsewhere, anywhere but here.
That was probably the longest continual putting me on the spot of the campaign.
Yeah, true.
I had none of that prepared in advance, and we ran the whole thing on that one session.
Wow.
So.
Yeah, true.
We have to talk about the sugar bomb, not just because it was a suggestion taken from Discord, but that was a cool moment for us. Like that was I think also maybe one of the scariest things we'd fought yet.
Mm-hmm.
That was a tough fight.
That's true. That was
it
a good
just seemed
battle.
like everything we were trying up until the sugar bomb was just
Yeah, the goth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that whole quest was awesome, right? The Wizard's Tower, is that the one where?
That was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of weird like creatures and funky magic and stuff.
The reverse gravity.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I feel like that sugar bomb was sort of like validated a lot of the things that you had tried to do early on in the campaign, Sean, where you're like trying to think of really clever solutions, like, oh, can I shield bash him? Can I like
MacGyver.
Can I throw my shield and like run over and whatever, grab him
Ski
or
on it.
whatever thing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like all the things that could possibly be viable
Mm-hmm.
in Pathfinder 2nd edition.
That's right.
That doesn't exist in 5th edition.
I was thinking the exact same thing. The types of things that aren't just hitting something or casting a spell at something.
Yeah, but we all had to be like, those are all just going to be worse options than swinging your sword at it.
Right, you guys had to like, well, Sean, Dungeons and Dragons isn't always about thinking up weird, cool things.
Well, it definitely
Sometimes
isn't.
you pick a fighter and you attack. And that's what you do.
Yeah.
So that felt really, really good. I agree, Brian. The way you put that was really well. Right, that was like the random sugar that Tokus had collected at the town like earlier.
From like episode 2 or something.
Yeah, right. In the random village.
That came up, and that was really fun the way that you allowed it and incorporated it into the fight somehow. Thayne.
Rule of cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Such a poignant character moment for Tokus, really, if you think about it.
Mm.
Well, the goth, in fairness, is like all eyeball.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh! I was just looking. I just remembered one of the funniest moments, which Sean, you also made into a clip for our social media, was when we were on the orc quest, and like Aslo had snuck into the camp invisibly, and then he was just riffing on like them having like a secret vault in the middle of the camp. He's like, "It's got all our best treasures in it, including my grandmother's wedding ring." The secret passcode is 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I listened to that clip that you did on social media like 3 or 4 times, like in a row.
You know, it's funny. You bringing that up reminded me of another clip I really enjoyed making. Was when Stripey was grabbed. We haven't talked about Stripey like hardly at all tonight. By the way,
that's
we need
true.
to incorporate him into this. When he was grabbed by the
roper.
The roper, yes. Thank you. Brian.
Yeah.
Like I love that. That was great, and that was cool. Rule of cool again, where like you let me use the lightning lure
To get
in a
him
way
down.
other than in a way that it's not intended, and I'm sure it doesn't actually break, grapple, or restrain or whatever. But
No, it does. If you manage to push or pull something out of reach,
Oh, okay.
then it would end it.
But the worry was this will hurt him.
Yeah,
but I was like, well, or he's just going to get munched on.
Mm-hmm. It was the lesser of two evils in that. Scenario.
You had some funny things you said in that too, Jay. In that that combat where you're like, he's just going to pop him in his mouth like a little treat,
yeah,
or something. It might have been you, Bryan, but one of you. I really enjoyed that fight just because I got to really feel like a hero, and it was kind of weird for Tokus to do something so heroic. Or I remember running over and saying, "I'm only doing this for you, Shaba."
Yeah, right. Yeah, that actually brings up, Yggdrasil, yet another classic, just great quest. I don't even know if I could pick a favorite quest that we went on because there were so many good ones. Yggdrasil was great. And we went back there twice, and the second time was good too. When we thought we were fighting dragons, but they were actually wyverns with
Osorm and his crew. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had not planned for you to recruit anyone in that adventure.
Really? I thought because we randomly came across Osorm and his party on the road. It was just a random encounter, and they were just standing there.
They were skinning their kill.
Yeah, exactly. And so that we were like, hey, what's up? And they're like, oh, we're monster hunters, blah, blah, blah. And then we were just talking, and we're like, oh, dude, we should hire the monster hunters because we're going back to Yggdrasil.
Yeah, was that a hard battle to run? Because you had the wyverns or wyverns, and us and them
and the other party, and that's why we hired them, because the only place we didn't explore when we first went to Yggdrasil was the place where the dragons were, quote unquote. Remember, we were hiding in the darkness stone, and we heard it. We heard the dragon sniffing around us. That was also a scary moment. But then it flew off. And so we knew
we
when we
were
went back
really
down
low
there,
level. We were we're not fighting a dragon.
Right, exactly. And so we knew when we went back down there, that was the place we were going to have to go. And so we were like, we can't do this on our own. We have to get some help.
Yeah. I think we were level 3 at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just not going to happen. Yeah, that was cool. Also, more rule of cool, the repurposing the sleep potion into a dispersal weapon.
Oh, yeah.
Those were cool. That, totally changing the encounter with the kobolds
in
our
that
first.
That came in handy, didn't it?
Yeah, and also how we dealt with Zestum and
Gul'dan.
Gul'dan, yeah.
Yeah.
So those were really clutch, and I don't know. I like that. I thought when I was when I was a new player and I was learning about this, I wanted to do cool things with potions or items or explosives. And I remember you guys telling me about a story of one of your friends who was really into alchemy.
Yeah,
fire.
I carried around alchemist fire everywhere.
Who was that again?
Our friend Tommy, and then he figured out how he could actually manufacture it, right? So he always had a supply of it.
Yeah, it was back in 2nd edition. He had a spell where he could just taste a droplet of some liquid and then duplicate it in a whole jar,
infinite
barrel full
alchemy fire.
Yeah.
That's sweet. Yeah, so I wanted to do weird stuff like that, and I remember scouring the rules, trying to find all the stuff like that, and you guys were always like, yeah, but you should just hit stuff. And you were right. Looking back, you were right. That was the better way to use Tokus, but I just constantly wanted to do weird, interesting gadgetry kind of approaches.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
And that's more the fault of the system than anything else, really.
Yeah. Well, we're fixing that.
We are fixing it.
Right.
Yes, indeed.
That's going to be fixed.
So, speaking of, what's the thing that you're most sad about with ending this campaign and excited about with starting the new one?
I think it'll be tough. Not impossible, but I think it'll be tough. There's something about the way that we role played these three guys. It was very jolly. I feel like we had good banter. The combination of the characters and just the whimsy and how Thayne gave us a lot of leash.
The physical comedy, was definitely a big part of it.
Yeah, I just know that the feel of the next campaign will be different because the world will be different and the characters will be different. And I just wonder if, from a role play perspective, will this much headcanon and shenanigans make as much sense?
Yeah,
for the new world or the new players. I don't know. I hope that there will still be because that's something I look forward to, sitting down at my computer to play with you guys, is not just like a crunchy role-playing, roll some dice, and those aspects. I also just enjoy the friendship and just enjoy like being silly or the wordplay, or somebody says something and somebody adds on to it, kind of that improv comedy.
Yeah.
So hopefully, I'm a little sad that a lot of these inside jokes we're putting them on the shelf. Like, we are going to have to really resist, as you've asked us, Thayne. And you're right, really resist callback humor and like referencing,
shouting Felmandar and bathing in honey, and
we'll have to come up with an entire new headcanon.
Yeah, yep. Referring to Nibrin.
Yeah,
it's gonna be hard to resist all of that.
It is.
Yeah, that's true. I hadn't really thought about that. How like the 4 players will still be the same, but everything else will be different, and like how does that change the dynamics of how we interact, at least as our characters, if nothing else?
Yeah, I think our party gelled together really nicely in this campaign, like better than probably we expected, because we really didn't. And I think it's interesting.
We didn't pre-plan.
Yeah, that we didn't know anything about each other's characters before we went into it, and we know just almost as little about each other's characters this time around, which I think is good, because we should be meeting each other at the same time our listeners are meeting us. Mm-hmm. It just makes it a little bit more.
Well, I think that Thayne made sure that the party composition would work.
As I recall, I think we knew classes when we started this campaign.
Yeah.
Like, you all knew what class everyone was going to take so that we could have a balanced party.
Right.
But I think that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that helps the authenticity.
Yeah, I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head there. That's about the same for me. I mean, I think the party dynamic is really good and also very funny.
I am a little bit sad that I didn't really get to tie up Shaba's backstory as much as I would have liked to.
Yeah, I should have made them hill giants instead of cloud giants. I really should have.
I mean, you did take on some frost giants by the end, so maybe you could have done something with that, but...
Yeah, that's true.
Even so.
Cloud giants are higher CR than frost, I take it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know we're lamenting that, but I feel personally that Shaba's story arc is satisfactory, right? Like, I feel like he really grew as a person.
Yeah. And I think Shaba probably got more satisfaction out of taking your revenge, both of yours, than he would have taking his own. Because
he's like that protector,
right,
defender kind of person.
Yeah, because we were able to do in the cult and also knock Felmandar down a peg or several pegs.
I think it would have been different if Kithganeth was not an okay dude.
Yeah,
I think that we would have pushed and had more motivation for us, like setting things right in the tribe.
Right. Yeah. If he
was
cruel or
And my thoughts on that, well, first of all, we had Felmandar, who was already kind of the villain from the backstory, and I didn't want to have a second Felmandar.
Yeah.
But also, it just kind of made sense to me that if you're in a rough tribal society where, survival is not guaranteed by any means, you would want to have the strong leader, and the strong leader would probably take care of his group pretty well, and it all just kind of made sense that maybe you just didn't see eye to eye, but he's not actually a bad guy.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I mean, yeah, from Shaba's perspective, he took away his birthright, so of course he was expecting him to be a horrible person too. But just because you lead in a society where the most powerful leads doesn't mean that they have to also be cruel evil, and harsh and
an evil monarch. I think that was also a concern with you, Bryan, was that if we tied up your character's story arc in the middle of the world's story arc, right? Like, I know, Thayne, you kind of took Tokus's story and kind of like made that kind of like a more global encounter. Like with Felmandar out of the way and your life restored, Aslo, it's almost as if a major blow to your character's motivation happened. But Thayne, I think you prevented that by making the war with the cult so compelling that like Bryan it still made sense for Aslo to continue. Yeah,
obviously Aslo wanted to take Felmandar down, but by that point in the story, he had formed this bond with the other guys and was so caught up in the in this global thing that was going on, that he wouldn't have been able to sleep at night if he had just been like, okay, cool, I got what I wanted. Now I'm just going to let the world go to pot.
Let the world burn.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Especially knowing that the cult would have eventually come for Marengar too, probably, and taken over what he was doing. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I have to say, I really like what happened with the Emperor, because out of all the possibilities that I had in my mind that of what could have happened with that final ritual, that was not one of them. So I was pleasantly surprised with the outcome.
That like sort of twist.
Yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
I really struggled with that one too. And I would like to give a quick thanks to one of my brothers for helping me bounce ideas back and forth until I finally got that figured out. I had some ideas, and then he gave me some help, and then I finally fleshed out the ending, and I think it all works well with what we'd learned so far up to that point, including way back, if only our patrons heard this, but in their world building episode, we did a scene where the Emperor was about to go out and present something to his people, and then he went away and disappeared, and no one knows why.
Yeah.
And until like a couple weeks before we ran that last battle, I had no idea why he disappeared.
That's great.
But it all worked out.
Yeah.
But it was great how you tied in the creatures coming from the underworld, because we had like learned inklings of what that was about, but we didn't truly know what the source of it was until the Emperor revealed it.
And that was tied to Yggdrasil and the dwarves and all that. So it was like already sort of incorporated into the world too. Which
and
is cool.
And Lobic Mine too.
The demons under the castle too, like in the sewer system. Remember that place we found?
The demons, I'm air quoting.
Yeah, air quote
Tokus's demons.
I thought that they were demons. Guys, there's demons down there. We got to fight them. Yeah, I thought that was very satisfactory as well, Thayne. Not what I thought was going to go down. And that brings up another funny moment I think that we should definitely discuss, was I kept thinking and waiting for the fight, and the fight did ramp up, in fairness, but it felt like there never really was a good moment to administer from a player's perspective, like from the combat perspective. It didn't seem like a good moment to to use the vampiric touch scroll, because I was waiting till my health resources dwindled, and but the bracer and second wind and just Tokus's very high naturally armor class, I never got low enough to where I felt like I needed to shift over to the vampiric touch, and then it never made sense for me to switch over and use the poison. I guess I could have maybe made that happen, because what I was waiting for with the vampiric scroll was, of course, to get a lot weaker, a lot fewer health points,
lower health. Yeah,
it just didn't. From a gameplay perspective, I feel like because the ritual was happening, I thought there was a bigger bad coming than Sharikoth. Yeah. So I mean,
there was. It's just that you couldn't fight him with conventional weapons.
Right.
Yeah.
So I saved the poison for something that I couldn't use the poison on, and I was waiting, and I was thinking to myself, as in that situation, oh man, I'm so glad I held on to the scroll of vampiric touch. I bet it's going to come up that but while we're fighting all these zombies, and it just never did, and you guys get to tell me you told me so.
Well, the bracer was, so much better at doing that than the scroll would have been.
It does also remind me of the rather large mistake I made during that combat of when Aslo was pushed back into the cloud kill. You should have taken the damage immediately, which would have knocked you out and changed a few things, perhaps.
Yeah.
I don't think it would have been super dramatic change. Probably would have meant that Shaba goes over and feeds you your potion of bottled sleep or something.
But then you would have been in the cloud kill too, though.
Yeah.
Shaba, right? Or did it move?
Well, no, it expired right then.
It expired.
Right
Okay.
Okay.
That's right.
Yeah.
Lost concentration or something.
You also had the healing spirit.
Yeah, that I was going to say there are a couple of synchronization differences in that fight, with the cloud kill, and the healing spirit was at the beginning of the person's turn whose space it's on.
Oh, so that might not have worked to...
So I wouldn't have been able to find Aslo in the cloud kill if I'd redirected it.
Yeah, in another universe, Aslo did die there. and it made for a very different combat, even resulting in a loss, right? Because I don't think at that point where you went down pretty early in the fight, Bryan, I don't think we downed even the ritual casters, right? And then of course there was Shirkoth's elite cultist was still alive. Shirkoth himself was still alive, and then they hadn't even turtled up on the throne under that protective shell. So
yeah,
I actually think they could have made for a very different combat potentially, because like I think you hadn't nuked the room yet, Bryan.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was a pivotal spell when you were just like, all right, enough, and just killed all the low level cultists, and then
Synaptic static.
Finished the it was just insane.
It's a bard's fireball. It's crazy.
I actually had picked out a bunch of spells for the second ritual caster, and I'd like up to level 6 or 7 cleric spells, and then you killed them before he finished the ritual, so never got a chance to use any of them.
Well, I think that was something that was really frustrating about that fight. I remember you being pretty frustrated, right, Jay? In a good way, not a bad frustration, but it was just like, why is it still happening? Like we were trying so hard to stop the ritual and to like, like your idea, Jay, was very clever to like melt one of the artifacts, and we just could not figure out that puzzle. And you, of course, Thayne, were like, this is so obvious.
Yeah, I love any combat where there's something else going on besides just like hitting things.
Yeah.
When you're trying to like figure something out or like get to a certain place or whatever, like that always adds a really interesting dynamic.
Yeah, something like a time sensitive, like a
like you have to, because you have to
clock.
divide your attention, right?
Right.
You're like, do I sit here and try to attack this person, or do I go over here and try to solve this puzzle or whatever?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think he did a really good job of something like that as well. You describing that, Bryan, made me think of when we were trying to get to the crown.
Yes, I was thinking
Remember
of
the chains and the spiders?
The various puzzle rooms. Yeah, the spider room.
Too.
And then the like acid log rolling room with the little puzzles that we had to like move stuff around.
Yeah. Those are all super well done, by the way. I don't know if I ever told you.
Yeah,
but
those are awesome. Did you have any patrons that were asking for those puzzles?
Well, I put the log rolling thing into the Discord right around that episode, so that's available for anyone. But yeah, those are fun to come up with, but kind of hard to get good ideas that I was happy with. Especially the first one where you're like dealing with the raising and lowering platforms and spinning the whole central pillar around and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, okay, how do I make it so that you can't just split everyone up and cheese your way through the whole thing?
Yeah, and just trial and error.
It was fun. A lot of work to do. I liked how they fit thematically as well. They weren't just random puzzles to be puzzles. Like each one served a purpose as part of this trial to get the crown.
Mm-hmm. And keep people from getting it. Exactly.
The third one was really the ultimate trial. I guess kind of the fourth one was the ultimate trial.
Right, where we thought we were going to have to sacrifice Stripey.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Right. That was really interesting the way that you did that, right? Like, and then we had to like understand the words or the inscription or something.
The disembodied voice.
Or the voice. Yeah, disembodied voice. And yeah, like we refused to sacrifice.
Yeah, and it was the last one was Trial of Character, which wasn't really stated in part of the original poem, but like you've made it through everything else. You're smart enough, you're strong enough. You've got loyal followers, so you're enough of a leader. And then, do you have the character to be a king? Will you keep your allies alive, or will you sacrifice them to get the crown?
Yeah.
That's cool. That's awesome.
What's funny is if we hadn't gotten there first and gotten the crown, I don't think Shirkoth's minions would have done that last trial correctly. I think they would have sacrificed the lower level cultists to get the crown, because that was their whole mission.
Right.
Like at any cost, right? Was kind of, in my mind, like their mentality. So I think it's really funny that we ultimately like unlocked the crown for the cult.
For them, yeah. Yep. We played right into their hands.
Like we were the chosen ones that were actually good, but we like potentially caused the world's destruction in a sense. I don't know if we really like understood that until now that we're like talking about it in retro.
Yeah.
That we actually like, they may not have been able to get the crown.
Yeah, I hadn't considered that before.
Are there other things like that, Thayne? That's just like in retro, it's like things that you can think of that we probably that just like totally went over our heads. It's got to be a few.
Yeah, or like moments where things just took a totally different turn than you were expecting, like the goblin caves.
Well, yeah, there's definitely lots of times that you went against what I expected. In most cases, I try not to plan solutions. I plan problems.
Problems, yep.
And then I wait for you to solve them.
I like doing that as a DM as well.
A lot of people in the Discord will ask me, so what did you really want them to do in this situation? And it's like, I didn't have a plan that I wanted them to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I come up with a situation, I think, like, is this something that's even remotely feasible? And as long as I can come up with kind of a vague outline of some plan that might work, then it's like, yeah, sure, I'll let them handle it.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing AI will never have is human ingenuity.
At least for now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
It'll have robot ingenuity.
It'll have,
Right.
robot ingenuity. That's true. They will never have human ingenuity, but
Yeah.
they will have ingenuity.
Until we get uploaded into the Matrix.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Some of the things that really I didn't expect at all was several of the fights that you avoided, namely when you saw the trolls on the road and you're just like, oh, sure, we'll pay you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Shamba was very dedicated to not fighting those trolls.
Which you had us fight trolls anyway.
You fought those same trolls.
Yeah, we
if you
fought
fought
those
them
same
there, then they
trolls.
wouldn't have been at the cave.
Right. Yeah.
That was actually my plan, that you would fight them there, and then you'd go to the empty cave, and it would just be the dragon.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Instead, we had that whole battle with the townsfolk and the spider webs and everyone running in and getting...
Yeah, that was so sweet, by the way. So
One of our
awesome.
best moments.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we all got stuck. Except for Tokus, but you guys all
And then
got
we had
stuck.
to get the townspeople to burn the webs from around us. Light us afire with your torches.
Yeah, I mean, because in the rules, right, the burn damage was worth it to get out of the web.
Oh, my gosh.
Man. What was so throughout this campaign there were several things that you really like, factions you had to really hammer out and systematize, right? Like the Sabers of course comes to mind, but like what were some other factions that you spent time like fleshing out, like maybe the cult?
Sapphire Sabers are interesting because I don't remember exactly how they came up. I think I mentioned them as kind of like a casual adventurers guild in passing. Like they were supposed to be this background group that just kind of existed in the world to bring more flavor, and then you just jumped on that and was like,
I'm such a fanboy.
Tokus saying, oh yeah, I've always been the big fan, I've always wanted to be a Sapphire Saber. And I was like, okay, well now I need to figure out what they are.
I had the poster in my room.
Yeah, I have a poster in my room, guys.
So that wouldn't have really existed if you hadn't gone after it so much. But obviously the cult, I had to figure out enough of their organization, how they worked. I didn't go into too much detail in my planning, but enough to know what they were up to at any given moment as a broad plan. Actually, when you went in and listened in on their meeting, that was when I first had to nail down, okay, this is what they're really doing, this is their plan, the structure, and I laid out everything that they were going to be working on from that point forward, basically. I always had to keep in mind what resources they had. So they had the throne, they had their flying monsters, and they had all of their spies everywhere, basically. And so after every couple of things that you did, every adventure or whatever, I would think, okay, the cult is out there. How interested are they in you? And what resources are they going to send after you at this point? So like at the Battle of Miller's Field, they see what you do, and so they know that you're fighting against them, but you're just kind of, this other group of adventurers. But they do track you, send other flyers and those dogs after you and stuff like that. And then when you became their focus, it's like, okay, now they're starting to use scrying spells on you, so they know your exact location, they know a lot of what you're up to. You never learned that in the campaign, but they were scrying on you regularly.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Well, yeah, we had you used other spells too, because like Bryan and I had these nightmares where like Sherikoth was literally, what spell was that?
That's not a spell in 5th edition, at least. There's something sort of similar in 2nd where you could communicate through dreams and send nightmares and stuff. So I kind of took that concept and twisted it a little bit. Functionally, for them, that was basically a way of pinpointing where you are and what you're up to, and also just trying to make you too scared to deal with them, basically.
Yeah.
And
it succeeded.
It definitely creeped us out and like made us like, we assumed it was the cult.
The combat in the training room at the Saber was an eye-opening moment because it really gave us the feeling that nowhere is safe. The places that we thought were safe are Truly not.
Yeah, that spurred the whole discussion about like, well, we have to keep the crown with us at all times because we're like, we have to like run away to another continent with it to keep it safe.
Yeah.
We can't keep it anywhere here. We can't give it to anyone because the cult will find it. And then we got to Marengar and found that they were spying on us and sending us these nightmares. And we were like, it's still not safe here either.
Right.
There was this constant sort of like, oh my gosh, we have to stay on the run. We have to stay on the move. Yeah.
At that point, I figured they were probably scrying on you once or twice a day to see where you were and what you're doing. And then sent their guy at just the right time while you're all asleep to try to take you out.
Oh, man.
But you will notice that after visiting Murney and Tokus had his like protections on him, I never targeted Tokus again with any of those sorts of things. The nightmares and whatever, that's why I switched over to Aslo, because they couldn't target Tokus anymore, and Aslo had the crown, so they were shifting their
focus.
Their new plan.
Wow.
So yeah, and as far as the guild and the cult, I had at one point planned on making one of the Adamantite guild leaders be in the cult, but with everything that was happening towards the end, I was like, this is not really worth it. I don't want to have a whole other storyline go off in that direction. And so I kind of scrapped that, and maybe for the best, because that was the guy that was in the war room with the map that you were giving all of your information to right before you left.
Yeah.
So it's like, if he were still a cult member, then, he would know, or the cult would know everything that you're doing.
Right.
And
oh, man.
Didn't think that would really serve for the good of the story at that point. So I'd already kind of scrapped that plan anyway. But it was a consideration, and you had thought about it too.
I just remembered when we had captured that orc captain, and then I interrogated him.
Oh, yeah, that was so good.
That was pretty fun.
With the earring of hearing.
I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
But I felt like it made sense, like out of the members of the party, I think it made sense that Tokus would do such a thing, like his character, his alignment, the fact that I was trying to role play out that he was like
the dark
becoming
crystal.
a bit more, the dark crystal, and just like it was kind of changing him. So yeah, I was kind of like I just channeled like a little bit of like what would Tokus be like if he was Batman,
right?
Like interrogating a criminal, but
Nice.
also like but like the sweeter side that still remained in Tokus. I was like, I don't want you guys to see me like this.
Yeah, that was masterfully done.
I enjoyed it. Maybe I should role play a character that like does that regularly, like an inquisitor or
the vigilante. That's a perfect
right, or like the bounty hunter.
Yeah.
I also really liked all of our interactions with Lady Restuvius. That was fun. And we were trying to be fancy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the juice. Yes, the juice.
The fruit juice. Oh man, that tasted so good.
Yes,
it was delicious.
How can we not talk about things like Olaf and others?
Oh yeah,
and just
of course.
like Thayne. I'm sure you were like, I don't want to give them any other non-player characters because like look what we did to them.
Exactly.
So Olaf was interesting because he was inspired by one of Jay's earlier characters from a different campaign.
Really?
Olafsson Henderthwaite, as I recall.
Yes.
Oh, that's right. Good old
I remember
Olafsson.
we didn't get very far in that campaign, I don't think, but I remember you were like some overweight baker guy.
Yeah.
And you had wife and kids and whatever, and you were just jolly cook fellow, and so that's kind of what Olaf was going to be, but then you really soured him on your whole group.
But what class was this character? Was he a cook? Like, is that a class?
Is it fighter or something?
Okay. Olafsson.
Olafsson.
Yeah, was he a fighter? No, I think he was I can't remember, a fighter or a cleric?
I don't remember.
I was the cleric in that game.
Yeah, I think he was a fighter.
Was he a fighter? Here we go.
You got to pull up the character sheet.
I have his.
But you didn't even recognize that I tried to loosely base it on your character?
No.
It's more inspired by...
Okay, yeah, because it's so...
Yeah.
His personality ended up being so different because probably he grew to hate us very quickly. I have his little notes sheet, but I don't have his character sheet in here.
Actually, one of my favorite moments from that campaign was I was DMing that campaign, and Jay had everyone write their like backstories and stuff. So Jay sent me the list of his family members, And at one point, the party like goes into this cave. They get all the way to the end. There's like these people in cages, and I say, you know, one of the people that you see is Tilda. And Jay goes, who? And I was like, it's your daughter, Tilda Hendersley. And he's like, oh, my sweet daughter! I can't believe it. I still think about that to this day. Anyway,
we've got to get to any other like mistakes we made or rules mistakes, because there were mistakes that we made as players, like constantly, because it was such a long campaign, like constantly forgetting or messing things up on like not necessarily character sheets, but inventory.
Yeah.
For example, like when one of us mixed up hand crossbows and light crossbows for the first like 20 episodes.
Yep.
Yeah, good times.
When I constantly forgot that I actually had stuff that I thought I didn't have. And then when Tokus lost the Umber Hulk eyes by not writing them down on his character sheet.
Which like is so unlike Tokus. Like he would have been so excited about those eyeballs. And to like, but Sean, I think I didn't write it down, or I noted it poorly. Forgot about them, and then I love that like you, Thayne, were like, well, they're rotten by now.
Yeah.
You forgot about them.
But Tokus is also the harebrained scientist too, like the scatterbrained, you know,
right, absent-minded
guy. So yeah, absent-minded professor, exactly.
Yeah.
Are there any rules mistakes or changes throughout the campaign you wanted to share with our people?
Well, I know way back in the fight with Golden and Zestim, I gave Zestim too many reactions, and that weighed on me for a while. I think he used 2 reactions in 1 or 2 rounds without me realizing it. And then kind of similarly, the dragon, apparently in 5th edition, Dragon Fear is supposed to be its own separate ability, but I was thinking more on the older edition rules where it was just kind of a constant aura. So Dragon had a couple extra actions because of that. But I don't think it really affected the game that much.
Yeah.
Those 2 things. And otherwise, I probably messed up, you know, a few reactions here and there. Nothing else major that I knew about. We did make quite a few accommodations for various things that the party wanted to do. Like having the Unearthed Arcana Ranger caused a lot of issues, and I know I changed how that worked even from the Unearthed Arcana version and stuff, so we had to kind of reference my own never written down thoughts on how it should function.
And since I was playing with the D&D Beyond version, that was just the standard ranger, and so I kept getting confused as to which abilities I actually had. And then there was the time that I shot the manticores that were paralyzed and would probably have fallen to their deaths if I hadn't.
Right, and Aslo just had his hand over his...
Aslo just face-palmed.
Face-palm, yeah.
Just like sits down on the edge of the cliff and just kind of stares off into the distance.
Nearly caused the death of at least one party member there, I think.
Yeah, I think it actually almost killed me.
Isn't that the same fight that Aslo got carried away?
That's right.
What was like, yeah, everybody wanted to carry you off.
Got a little carried away.
Like every time that they had a chance.
I'm a small, easy target. What can I say?
I guess, is that why you're doing that, Thayne? Because we were small, but Aslo was the one that was like lower armor class and more helpless?
Tokus was the only one who didn't get carried off by anything ever, right?
Oh yeah, you got carried off too, and you're big.
I got carried off by a big monkey in the middle of Marengar.
That's right. And Stripey and I had to team up to save you.
That's right.
Yeah, Aslo being smaller and not heavily armored definitely makes him an easier target, especially for the flying creatures.
Yeah, Tokus, you're a little too crunchy with all that armor on.
A little bit of tooth decay.
Yeah.
You're like a shrimp. They would have had to peel the shell off of you first.
Were there other changes? I know that there were several, Tasha's.
Well, with your character, the way that we reflavored the Eldritch Knight into a Tinkerer.
Yeah.
Really affected the spells that you took and how you could use them.
Yeah, there was an invention, a physical invention for most of your magic, right?
Spells, yeah.
Yeah. Once you started learning actual spells from the crystal and then from Murney and stuff, then we kind of dropped some of that. But up until that point, everything that you had used, we had to figure out some way to flavor it as an invention.
Yeah, the Violapult, the Lightning Lure, the Gnomish Rocket Boots.
The Flamethrower or the Frost Thrower or whatever.
Oh, the Frost Gauntlets.
We tried to stick to the spells as written functionally, but I know it affected how things actually worked outside of that here and there. Like you having a whip because that was part of your spell.
Right.
Or using the Vilepult to launch the potion.
Yeah.
Right, which was terrible because my dexterity was so bad. Right? Turning that into like an actual ranged attack and it missed, yeah. But I think over the course of the campaign, there were like lots of options that came to us mid-campaign, such as Tasha's like changing a little bit of spells available or how Bryan's bardic worked mid-campaign.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Oh, we also had a rather large change right near the end with Shaba's character. After Stripey died, we had a discussion that I think it's probably best. Throughout the whole show, Shaba's been saying that even if we brought him back, he wouldn't be the same Stripey. We don't know if we can bring him back, all that stuff. It's like, I thought it would be best, since he was gone, to just say he's gone. Yeah. And that means that we need Shaba to have different options. So we switched his whole subclass over.
Right.
To the, what is it? The Beast Slayer?
Just the Hunter.
The Hunter, okay. Okay. One of your abilities is like Giant Slayer or something, right?
Yeah, Colossus Slayer is one of the optional abilities, yeah. Yeah, just to be on parity as far as combat effectiveness and stuff at that point, yeah. And I think, one of the interesting things was, didn't we have to wait like an entire between sessions to know what had happened to Stripey after he fell out of the sky?
Yep.
So, yeah, I don't know if like that type of ranger has like the force sensitivity to where they would know if their animal companion was dead, probably, but it was more interesting to not know until we found him, I think.
Yeah, we sort of ended up restructuring the way that ability worked so that it's just an animal companion, and then in this case it died and you just decided to change your subclass. Yeah,
because Stripey was a part of all of us. It would have felt cheap if I could just snap my fingers and bring him back,
Yeah.
Of note, this is kind of reminiscent of when, you guys were, or Thayne, you gave me a little bit of new player grace with using something that I could or should have known about, right, which was my inspiration. I remember us getting into an interesting discussion because that spell was not originally aimed at Stripey. You guys remember that?
Oh, yeah.
I had originally planned to target that at Aslo, which would have dropped him out of the sky. He would have survived, at least
because of
I
the
presumed.
Periaptive.
Yeah, because of the periapt, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he would have been out of the fight, though, I think was why we were really like looking into, is he a legal target?
Yeah. I'm still not clear on whether you are legally targetable as an invisible.
I mean, based on the other stuff that we looked up and read at the time, it doesn't seem like that, because the dispel magic doesn't, it can't really say something you can see, because magic isn't necessarily something you can see. But
wasn't there more complexity?
Yeah, it doesn't specify you have to see it, but it was like you have to be aware of it, and I don't know, it's very fuzzy, and there's lots of arguments online about whether it is possible or not.
Well, was that the same caster that had see invisibility on, or was it there were two casters?
The other one, yeah.
And that was part of it, because that guy couldn't see where anybody was, and the ship was moving fast, and we were also moving fast.
But Stripey wasn't invisible.
And that was why Stripey was targetable.
That's why we switched it to Stripey, yeah, exactly.
Because, he was the only real, actually viable target in that scenario.
But it's interesting, though, thinking about that, like, in retrospect, because hearing you say that, Thayne, like, Aslo would have survived because of the periapt. And so, like, in a sense, like, us pushing for and saying, like, hey, could we have you use that on a different target? That caused Stripey's death, in a sense.
In a sense,
right?
yeah.
Like we thought we needed Aslo, but if things had gone the way that you were planning to have them go, I think, was that a thought in your mind, Thayne, that you knew that Bryan had that periapt and that he'd theoretically survive?
Well, I think any of you probably would have survived just because you had more hit points. But I wasn't planning for you to take over the ship at that point.
Oh, really?
I figured I would shoot one of you down, then like you might chase after them and try to revive them, and they'd have maybe a short skirmish up there on the ship. They would get away, you would revive whoever fell, and then we'd move on to do something else. But you were determined to take over the ship, and so We had to do all that instead.
Well, so
Man.
I guess without the ship, though, I guess I just don't understand what the plan was for getting to the caldera. And
Yeah.
Was it the teleportation circle, or?
If you had not chased down that airship, they actually would have sent another airship specifically after you. So this is really interesting. I had planned out what they wanted to do to you during that last battle, because the whole reason they attacked is because you were there and you had the crown.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Good night.
Man.
And they were scrying on you while you were away, so they knew that you were headed back there with the crown. And so, like, all right, we're going to position all our forces here. We're going to start the fight so that they'll come into it. We'll already have our men positioned in the room waiting for them to teleport back. We know exactly what's going on.
Oh, man.
They were ready and waiting.
Dang.
Well, but we managed to get away from.
You got away from the first one. That
yeah.
was like, if it works, it works. If not, then it's not really a big loss for the cult.
So you wanted us to be captured at that point.
I didn't think you would be, and I don't think the cult really expected that either. There's like, we'll put our men here, and they'll be able to alert us, if anything happens,
Oh, okay.
or when you come back. And if they happen to get the crown, good. If not, they're just our underlings. Who cares?
Right.
But yeah, their plan was that you would come into town, the town would be attacked, you would be targeted by a second airship. Like the first one would come in, do the storms on the whole city to cause general chaos, and then a second airship would come in, basically stop right above you, and they would send another squad down to attack.
Well, there were 2 airships originally that we saw, right?
Yes.
They were both there,
They're both there.
but they had like a total of 4, I think, when we went to the caldera.
I don't remember, 3 or 4.
It was 3 or 4.
But one of them was going to come after you. And that group had a squad that was specifically targeted to fight you guys, and the cult's plan there was they would park the ship with the ropes dangling down, and then everyone would come down and attack you on the ground. If they killed you and took the crown, great for them. If not, you would steal their airship, which they planned for you to do. They wanted you to steal a ship and bring the crown to them.
That's the thing. We had
wow.
already given the crown.
We had given the crown to
That,
the king.
They didn't know that.
How did they not
That
know?
was the one thing. They didn't know because you went to the king and you had that especially scribe-proof room.
Oh, right.
The
Under the
anti-magic
castle.
room, yeah.
So this was like
Yeah.
the only time in the campaign where the cult didn't actually know something about us.
So because you completed the transaction there, they didn't find out that you had given up the crown. So they were still following through on their original plan.
So they thought we still had it.
And they wanted to lure you to them. And then they only found out that the crown was there in the later battles after you left when they fought the king and took it from him.
Okay.
Wow.
So their plan, you almost followed their plan exactly, except that you left the crown behind. So, but then they managed to take.
Right, and it almost
Oh,
would have been
man.
safer with us in the end because they would have committed more resources to us, right? Like if, I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, if we had still had the crown, not given it to the king, and then gone to the caldera to fight them, then Sharakoth would have been like, "Oh, thanks for bringing it to us."
Well, right, that would have changed things.
Yeah, that was kind of my original plan, was you bring the crown to him, and he's like, great, now that everything's together,
Yeah.
we can finish the ritual.
Right.
Yeah, because we only had suspicions that they had the scepter. We didn't actually know.
Well, I think once the weather was weird and they were attacking us with storms.
Strong suspicions, yeah.
Yeah, I felt like that really confirmed the suspicions. Couple more questions. Will there be a return of the announcer guy?
Good question. Good question. We need to kind of like make sure we know where we're starting, and I think, I think probably. I think he's a good announcer guy.
Yeah, if he's still doing this thing.
I like him as far as announcer guys go. Yeah.
I think he's on brand with our style.
All right, lightning round. What are you most excited with starting the new campaign? Go.
Playing new characters, exploring a new world, new Pathfinder system, Pathfinder 2nd Edition.
Yes, same answer.
I'm excited about being able to go to a new world, yes, but also we've designed this world, and it's very different from our last one, so I'm looking forward to having a lot more fantastical, weirder stuff that I don't normally use to get to play with in this one.
And the style of the campaign is going to be a little different too, right? It's going to be more epic, like on a more epic scale.
Yes, in the original meaning of epic.
Right.
As opposed to...
Long lasting in terms of time scale.
That's the plan. We'll see how it holds up.
I'm interested in more tactical depth. That's what Pathfinder 2nd Edition seems to bring to the table, but I think also the other systems or subsystems even offer more interesting in depth with role-playing, or the fact that there's like exploration, and that's a thing that you do as players. You don't just move about the world. It's like, well, what are you doing as you move about the world? Like, what are you trying to accomplish? So I think those subsystems, I think it's a well thought out system. I think it's going to go well. We think it's going to go well.
Yeah, we do. So next lightning round question: favorite NPC from this campaign? Obviously, Thayne, that for you that might be your favorite to role play, or your favorite personality wise, or whatever.
I have to go back to Felmundar. He was just so much fun to play. I mean, being kind of an introvert, reclusive, and not really saying much most of the time in my real life, trying to completely reverse that and be this
charismatic showman. Yeah.
Yeah. It was hard, but it was really fun.
That's cool. I really liked Isric because of the voice you gave him.
Yeah, I was going to answer that too. I'll have to think of another one now. Yeah, Isric's voice was great.
Well, I mean, there's the obvious that we all loved, Nibrin, yeah.
I really liked what you did with Captain Clapton, because it was just such a like an outlandish premise to begin with, but I love how confident he was, like being like fully blind and like handicapped, right? With two peg legs, just like he was always so sure of himself, and like you could see just the salty old sea dog in him.
Even when he accidentally toddled off in the wrong direction.
Yeah, right.
We didn't get exposed to this character I just thought of much, but I think Holy Hallenheim.
Holy Hallenheim.
Oh, man.
Yeah, he was awesome.
Yeah, we didn't get much of him, but
I think Hallenheim and Gul'dan were probably the two most like awesome, like bad to the bone guys that we wanted on our side, like in our literally in our party. Also Blackblade, but
Elendria.
Oh yeah, we didn't touch on Blackblade at all tonight. Wasn't there like something
she was so cool?
We want to like see if she would help us when we were like going around and gathering up a bunch of heroes. Also, I wanted to ask you about that, Thayne. You seemed to push back a little bit, which is okay, but like push back a little bit at like our whole like, sweet, we have an airship now, which we're learning now you never intended for us to have. And we wanted to like gather up all the heroes.
Well, no, I said I did.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, the cult was going to give us one.
Oh, they were going to give us a ride on the airship.
No, they were going to like give it to us so that we could come to
We planned to have you steal it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So we could go to their base.
I wanted to give you an airship and make it look like it was your idea.
Yeah.
Right, and to bring the crown. I see. But yeah, when we had it, we did the whole like, I think we even talked about it briefly, like where at the end of a Final Fantasy game, like now you have the airship and now you fly around and do all like the extra quests and like, you know, level grind and, you know, do all the broken stuff. So I think you were trying to avoid us doing that with like putting some time constraints on us.
Yeah, you definitely had a lot of pressure. We also knew that the campaign needed to come to an end. And no one wanted to sit around for side quests that weren't related. I was surprised at the side path that you did take of gathering up your friends in your airship, dropping some of them off outside of town and then picking up others and taking them with you.
It was just so perfect.
That does remind me of another blunder I made early on when we were talking to Blackblade, and Aslo was like, if you help us, then we'll take care of the cult and get them out of your area so that you can be more or whatever. But then she was like, no, I just said I don't want you to get rid of the cult.
I vaguely remember what you're talking about, Bryan.
We're working on getting the robes and stuff, the disguises to be able to infiltrate the cult, and I sort of messed that up.
I kind of wish, I know it didn't make sense for the campaign, but I kind of wished if there could have been a return to her or that outfit that she was leading, right? The underworld that she was part of.
Yeah, the criminal underworld of Nenept.
She's just the mysterious figure that always stays in the background, and that's just how she likes it.
Yeah, that talking about rounding up all our friends just made me think of the scene where Aslo was just hovering on the rope ladder and just swept Nibrin into his arms.
Yeah, Willy Wonka style.
Oh man, that's
Nibrin, where are you?
Just like gliding down the street of town. Oh my gosh, so good.
The banana stand was something else that people were asking about, but I think you did a good job wrapping that up.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a very important story thread that's good that you wrapped up, for sure.
Definitely.
Well, so, yeah, Shaba found a way to spend his wealth in the end, right? Investing it into the business and...
learning what bananas are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Researching bananas.
Well, but Bryan, in the end, your character did find a good use for his money, right? Which was becoming a band manager.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Investing that in that business. Investing his fortune. And Tokus bought purple worm poison.
Yep. I bought very expensive purple worm poison.
Yeah.
And never used it.
I was thinking about, in my epilogue, like, was Tokus going to try to, like, sell the poison but be unsuccessful because, like, it's so sketchy to sell poison. And so, like, he was unable to, like, resell the poison. I had this whole, like, idea of, like, you know, like, Tokus is just, like, languishing in poverty, and then, like, Shaba and Aslo come
It's
and
like, but I have the poison.
come and rescue me. But no, I was like, no, I'm going to go with something more positive. So I thought the whole airship idea was a much more positive, productive use of Tokus's various gifts.
Definitely. I think when Shaba went back to his tribe, he ended up burying the rest of his fortune somewhere in the Verdant Hills. And then, like, on his deathbed, he just scrawled out like a
treasure map.
Like a basic treasure map. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
You kind of made a side joke. I feel like it was just a headcanon joke, but you made a joke, Jay, that, like, you were going to take over the family business.
Yeah.
Were you referring to Stripey's headcanon business?
Yes, to Stripey's...
It was in his accent.
Yeah, yeah, his criminal enterprise.
As a mob boss, yeah.
Accent that you used when you said that you were taking over the family business.
Taking over the family business, yeah, the...
Mobster.
Mobster, right. So I would just picture Shaba, like, in his lounge chair with, like, all these woodland creatures adorning him, like, all on his shoulders and head, squirrels and chipmunks and birds and just all the minions that do his bidding.
Before you went that far, I was envisioning Gaston in the bar with his, like, animal heads on the walls.
Oh, yeah, right.
In the campaign, Jay, you briefly took Speak with Animals and then just dropped it.
Yeah. Shaba could take that again at higher levels to help with the business, of course.
And you can always summon Ghost Stripey.
Yep, that's true. If I ever need a visit from an old friend.
Besides, we never got to hear you to speak to Ralph again. That would have been fun.
Yeah. I realize that this is going to be not just tough on us, but of course tough on our listeners, right, to kind of shut the book on this chapter, right, on this story, because we've, in a sense, enjoyed it for more hours than some, not all of our listeners. There's some listeners that have enjoyed the Damage Guild longer than we did, but
yeah, that's true.
I can think of at least two people come to mind when I'm saying this.
Not to mention, we've gotten messages from more than one person telling us how much the show has just helped them through some really hard stuff. So that's been super encouraging and brings us a lot of joy to know that it's helping people. That's really cool.
But yeah, we genuinely hope it's been good, family-friendly fun, that it's kind of gotten you through the work week, right? As you always like to say, Jay, right? Helping people fight the dragons of your everyday life. I love that. That's great. And yeah, we want to continue that. We want to bring, so, you know, give us a chance with the new system, give us a chance with the new world and characters, and we hope to get to a place where we've got good party dynamic and have a feel for things in that new world together.
Yeah, so do us a favor, given that you are listening to this right now.
Yeah, and that you're still listening.
Yes, you have listened to nearly 200 hour-long episodes of us role-playing together. If you would like to continue listening to us doing same or similar, whatever podcast app or platform you are on right now, search the Damage Guild, and a second show called the Damage Guild should pop up in your search. It'll be... This show is Damage Guild, a 5th edition D&D podcast. The new show is called The Damage Guild, a PF2E, or Pathfinder 2nd edition podcast. Go ahead and pull that up in your search and subscribe to it, and we'll continue the adventure. We also are going to be posting the first episode of our new campaign on this podcast feed, just as a sort of a teaser for what's to come. So you'll see that in your feed in the next 2 weeks. But after that episode, this feed is going to stop, and our new feed, our new show will resume. Or will commence. So give that a listen, and we hope you join us for the new adventures to come.
Yeah, even if you're unfamiliar with the Pathfinder second edition system. It's a 3-action system. And that is where a lot of the fun and the tactical crunchiness that me, Sean, as a player really desires, right? I want to cast spells at varying degrees and the various degrees of success and failure, and
Yeah, I think the system has a lot to offer in terms of character customization and all the kinds of different things you can do on your turn in combat to making it much more interesting and fun for the DM. So I think there's a lot to explore there.
There's going to be some interesting struggle, and you'll miss all that if you're just like, oh, I don't want to listen to Pathfinder. Like, oh, I've heard, my so-and-so, my friend said that it's Mathfinder. No, like the crunch is good. Like sometimes you want like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And I get
Embrace
it.
the crunch.
Yeah. And like D&D is the peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And like it can role play a lot of different, Lord of the Ringsian adventures. But Pathfinder is like, it's the extra crunchy peanut butter. Mm-hmm. It's still a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
It's like a Reuben.
It's like taking your peanut butter and jelly sandwich, peeling it apart, and slapping a 20-ounce ribeye in the middle.
Delicious.
I would not want to eat that. And maybe check out Pathfinder 2nd Edition yourself. There's a big reason why we're making that shift. And it's mainly the OGL debacle is a big part of why.
That's a big part of it, yeah.
Even though it was a year and a half ago.
Yeah, it's the OGL debacle. It's feeling like we've sort of explored most of what there is to do in 5th edition. And so we've been finding ourselves wanting more in terms of crunchiness and other things we can do.
Yeah, a lot of gamers are headed in that direction as well. And if you are a patron or if you've checked out our other content, we've played through an intro adventure to Pathfinder 2E, and I think it's safe to say that all 4 of us are stoked on it, and we wouldn't be changing systems if we didn't believe in it, and if we didn't feel like it was a better framework for the type of game and type of role-playing that we wanted to do. So we are 100% behind it, and we hope that you can get on board as well.
Yep, and it's just a simple search away. The Damage Guild.
The Damage Guild.
The Damage Guild.
The Damage Guild.
And with that, we thank you all for hanging out with us and sharing in the memories. It's been great.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride. It's been so much fun, and we've had just a blast recording this show and playing together for the last 5 or 6 years, and we are genuinely looking forward to doing a lot more of that in the years to come. Just in a new system that I think is going to, that we think is really going to shake things up and make things more interesting, both for us and for you, our listeners.
But just as we are closing this book, we're super stoked on opening the next one.
But that's the good news, isn't it? We're not planning on a long transitional hiatus.
Right.
Yep.
We're jumping right into it.
Jumping right in.
Straight from one to the next. So, come join us. We will see you then. In the next episode of
In a Whole New World.
All right, everybody. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you in the next episode.
See you there.
In a whole new world.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
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 New world.
Damage Guild podcast.
Guild.